The day began with anticipation as the audience filled Kelly Clarkson's studio, eager to see the powerhouse singer sit down with none other than country legend Tim McGraw. The applause was thunderous as Tim walked onto the stage, flashing his familiar smile and tipping his hat to the crowd. Kelly greeted him warmly, gushing about his decades of hits and his influence on the industry. At first, the conversation carried the glow of nostalgia as the two reminisced about early struggles, the grind of touring, and the beauty of country storytelling. But as Kelly began to steer the discussion toward the future of country music, the mood began to shift, and a visible tension settled over Tim's expression as he prepared to respond. Tim leaned in, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge, as he spoke about his frustration with the direction modern country had taken. He argued that too many new artists had abandoned the genre's roots, chasing fame with pop crossovers and shallow lyrics. Kelly listened politely, her smile unchanged, but when it was her turn to reply, she pushed back with conviction. She reminded Tim and the audience that country had always been about growth and storytelling, and that reaching new generations required artists to experiment. Her words drew applause, but Tim's jaw tightened, and the warmth between them began to evaporate. Kelly attempted to lighten the mood, joking about how her own songs weren't exactly traditional either, but Tim wasn't laughing. He doubled down, insisting that while experimentation was fine, too many artists now disrespected the foundation laid by pioneers like George Strait and Merle Haggard. Kelly's eyes flashed, and she gently but firmly reminded him that respect isn't shown by clinging to the past, but by carrying those traditions into the future in new and powerful ways. The audience clapped again, and Kelly's supporters cheered, but Tim shifted in his seat, his frustration now impossible to hide. The tension thickened as Tim accused modern stars of being more concerned with social media likes than authentic music. Kelly's expression hardened at the comment, the implication clearly touching a nerve. She shot back, saying that fans engaging with artists online was not a weakness but proof that the music was alive and relevant. Her words brought the audience to its feet, the energy in the room now bordering on explosive. Tim, however, leaned back with a look of disapproval, shaking his head as if the crowd's support for Kelly only deepened his belief that the heart of country was slipping away. Kelly pressed forward, unwilling to let the moment slip into dismissal. She reminded Tim that she had always shown reverence for legends like him, often citing his songs as inspirations in her own career. But she also stressed that her success came from taking risks, blending genres, and trusting her instincts. Tim interrupted sharply, telling her that respect for tradition wasn't just about words but about actions, a line that sent gasps through the audience. Kelly's jaw tightened, her voice trembling slightly as she responded that she had done nothing but honor those who came before her, and she would not allow her sincerity to be questioned on her own stage. The argument escalated until finally, the breaking point arrived. Tim, visibly fed up, pushed back his chair with a scrapping sound that echoed through the studio. The audience gasped as he rose to his feet, declaring that he had said his piece and wasn't going to sit through what he called a show that dressed up disrespect as progress. With that, he turned on his heel and stormed off stage, leaving Kelly staring in stunned silence. The audience erupted in whispers, some shocked, some applauding Kelly's courage, while producers scrambled frantically in the wings. For a long moment, Kelly sat frozen, her hands clasped in her lap as she processed what had just happened. Finally, she took a breath and addressed the audience, her voice steady though her eyes revealed the sting of the confrontation. She admitted that disagreements happen, even among friends and colleagues, but insisted that she would always speak her truth about music and what it means to her. Her words earned her a standing ovation, though the air was still thick with the tension of Tim's dramatic exit. Backstage, chaos unfolded as Tim's team rushed to usher him out of the building. Reporters, already tipped off by studio staff, began gathering outside, hoping to capture photos of the superstar leaving in anger. Tim, his face tight with fury, refused to answer questions as he ducked onto a waiting car, slamming the door behind him. Kelly, meanwhile, finished the show with grace, smiling for the cameras and thanking her audience, though inside she was clearly shaken. When the taping wrapped, she retreated quietly to her dressing room, her team surrounding her with words of reassurance. By the time the episode aired later that day, the internet had already exploded. Clips of Tim storming off flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, with fans fiercely divided. Some praised him for standing firm in defending tradition, while others rallied behind Kelly, celebrating her strength and poise under pressure. Entertainment news outlets ran bold headlines: Tim McGraw explodes on Kelly Clarkson, Country Showdown live on air, and Kelly vs. Tim, Clash of the Titans. Hashtags like #Tim vs. Kelly and #Country Clash trended worldwide within hours, ensuring that the story dominated conversation well beyond the studio walls. As the dust settled, statements from both camps became inevitable. Tim's publicist released a carefully worded message claiming that his departure was fueled by passion for the genre he loved, not disrespect toward Kelly personally. But Kelly's team hit back subtly, with Kelly herself posting on social media that conversations about music are never easy, especially when emotions run high, but that she believed progress and tradition could coexist. The post garnered millions of likes and comments, cementing her position as a voice of balance and authenticity. Yet beneath the polished responses, the feud lingered, with fans and insiders alike speculating whether Tim and Kelly's friendship had been fractured forever, and whether their explosive showdown was only the beginning of a story that would echo throughout the country music industry for years to come. The morning after the broadcast, the entertainment world was ablaze with speculation. Tim McGraw's walkout was replayed on every major talk show and dissected by panelists who debated whether his exit was a principled stand or an unnecessary overreaction. Kelly Clarkson, meanwhile, arrived at her studio early, prepared for a day of questions and headlines. Paparazzi lined the sidewalks, shouting inquiries about whether she had spoken to Tim since the clash. Kelly kept her composure, offering only a polite wave and a smile, but her silence fueled even more curiosity. Inside, her team advised her to release a calm, measured response to avoid deepening the feud, while producers whispered about how the incident had already driven ratings to record highs. Tim, however, had no intention of staying quiet. Late that morning, he posted a message to his social media accounts, expressing disappointment in how the conversation on Kelly's show unfolded. He reiterated his belief that country music must protect its roots, writing that he couldn't sit there and nod politely while the foundation of the genre was being dismissed. The statement instantly polarized fans even further. Some applauded his courage, praising him as a defender of authenticity, while others blasted him for walking out on Kelly, accusing him of being disrespectful to both her and the audience. Within minutes, #Team Tim and #Team Kelly were trending simultaneously, the digital battlefield growing hotter by the second. Kelly's response came not through a written statement, but through her actions. That afternoon, during a rehearsal for her next episode, she addressed her studio audience candidly. She admitted she was deeply hurt by Tim's departure, but emphasized that she had never dismissed tradition. Instead, she wanted to highlight how it could evolve alongside new voices. Clips of her heartfelt words quickly circulated online, winning praise for her vulnerability and grace. Fans and fellow artists began weighing in, with some country stars publicly backing Tim's perspective while others rallied to Kelly's defense, insisting her views were both fair and necessary. The clash was no longer just a disagreement between two artists and had become an industry-wide conversation. Behind the scenes, executives at the network scrambled to capitalize on the moment while still protecting Kelly's reputation. They commissioned highlight reels, press releases, and teaser trailers promoting the episode everyone was talking about. Meanwhile, rumors began swirling that Tim might cancel future television appearances, wary of being pressed about the incident. His team denied those rumors, but industry insiders knew the tension between him and Kelly would likely follow him for months. Even fellow artists were cautious, realizing that taking sides could alienate large swaths of fans. Nashville, usually a close-knit community, felt fractured in the wake of two of its brightest stars clashing in such a public way. As the days passed, the feud showed no signs of fading. Kelly used her platform to highlight younger country artists blending styles, booking guests who embodied the evolution she believed in. Critics saw this as a subtle but unmistakable statement against Tim's viewpoint. Tim, on the other hand, doubled down during a concert, taking a moment between songs to speak passionately about respecting tradition and honoring the pioneers. The crowd erupted in cheers, but clips of his speech quickly circulated alongside headlines tying it back to Kelly. What had started as a single fiery exchange on daytime television had grown into a cultural showdown, with fans, artists, and media outlets all weighing in on what country music should be and who had the right to define it.